Hi, Shalom Chaverim. Everyone likes fresh beginnings, and this week we have many fresh beginnings. Beginning of a new month, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and that's auspicious, a month of miracles. It's also the beginning of the third book of the 5 books of Moses, the book of Leviticus, or in Hebrew, Vayikra. And I'd like to spend a moment talking about this new beginning. Vayikra el Moshe. The Almighty calls to Moshe, and he starts a conversation with him, or more than a conversation, an injunction, how he should inform the Jewish people of sacrifices and how they could get closer to the Almighty and so on. Many of us often wonder, what would it be like to get a call from God? Vayikra el Moshe. He called to Moshe. What did Moshe feel? Was his senses alive? Did he feel electricity? Did he feel an aura? Did he feel lightheaded? Who knows? I don't. Not a mystic. Something I speculate about. What would it mean to us though, to get a call from God? And I would like to suggest something a little bit radical. And that is that if God spoke to you, you perhaps wouldn't feel it right away. It would be a very still and a subtle message. Actually, when you look at the word Vayikra, and he called, the rabbis point out that the last letter is very small. The Aleph, which is the last letter of the word Vayikra, is written in a very, very small way, even in the Sefer Torah. Perhaps the rabbis were hinting to us that even when Vayikra, even when God calls to us, not always do we hear it. Not always do we feel it. Not always is it so overwhelming. But it's very powerful. It's that quiet voice which speaks to us with truth, speaks to us with clarity. Very often that voice of reason is actually the voice of God, telling us to follow a virtuous and a moral life. Last week's Torah portion ended off with the concept of a cloud. That they had just built the house of God, the tabernacle. There was a cloud, and Moses could not enter. This week, the third book of the 5 books begins, and God called to him from the cloud. And many of the great teachers of Israel point out the connection. You would think that when you hear the voice of God, it comes with splendor, with thunder and lightning, again, with a clarity that's dazzling. But actually, it's the verse that God called to Moshe is preceded by Moses could not enter the house. There was a cloud. Something was covering. There was a concealment. As a matter of fact, one could see a distance being put before Moses, that until now you were talking to God, and now that there's a very special place dedicated to receiving his messages, you won't be able to hear it at all times. As a matter of fact, you cannot hear it right now. You may not enter right now. There's a cloud. And Moshe understands that. And then immediately after he understands that at times a person might feel distant from God, he then hears a voice calling to him, the voice of the Almighty. Let's translate this into simple terms. There are times when we're going to see great things. We're going to have a baby, we're going to get a promotion, we're going to meet the spouse of our dreams, we're going to be very healthy, we're going to have nachas. We're going to be surrounded by an environment where you would have to be completely ungrateful to God and to deny his existence. I mean, you would have to be foolish. God is so good to me. What more can I do for him? And then there are going to be times when you're going to be looking for God and groping to get a message, undecided, unclear, and you're going to say, Hashem, have you forsaken me? And you're going to feel a cloud between you and God. And at that time, it's important to remember and to have faith that God will talk to you. And it might not be in a blazing light, But he will talk to you. You will hear his voice. What you have to do is keep the lines of communication open. You have to make place within yourself for God. You have to look to the Torah for inspiration, to the teachers for guidance, and most of all, within your heart, a humble beseeching, Hashem, please help me. When this will happen, the rabbis tell us that that small voice will not only be clear and resonant, but in a certain way, it will be even more powerful than that loud voice. And when we do hear that voice of God, let us respond with alacrity and with joy. If you listen carefully to what's happening in the world, God is calling to us. And he's saying, I want to redeem you, my people. I want to bring you back to the Holy Land. And I want to restore you to your original glory. Let's hope and pray that we accept this message, rise to the challenge, and indeed, by the festival of Pesach, we will be celebrating this year in Jerusalem. Amen.